on the way. But first, let's talk about EastEnders. Very distressing storyline at the moment. Chantel's abuse by her husband, Gray. And just a warning that you might want to turn the radio down if you have children listening right now, because we're going to be talking about what unfolds over the next couple of episodes. Take a listen.
You say you love your kids. That we can make this work. Don't just tell me. Show me.
Great, please.
Show me.
No, I don't know. I don't want to do this again, please.
Just 2 minutes. To save our marriage. Do it and I'll call the whole thing off.
Well, tonight, Chantel dies at the hands of her husband. The writers say the storyline has never been more crucial given the rise in domestic abuse during lockdown. 40,000 contacts to Refuge's National Domestic Helpline in the first 3 months of lockdown. Toby-Alexander Smith plays Gray. He joins us now. And Sarah Davidge is research manager for Women's Aid. And they worked with EastEnders on the storyline. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the programme. Toby, I mean, how hard was this for you as an actor to play this, I mean, just an unsympathetic character, but a very important storyline?
Absolutely. I mean, 18 months ago, I don't think neither me or Jess, who plays Chantel, could have even comprehended where or how this storyline was going to come to an end. And, you know, we've both had to really dig deep as actors to sort of, you know, bring to screen what you'll see this evening, because it's a very hard watch, and I think both of us have had to sort of really use our research and you know, throw absolutely everything we've got at this episode, and you know, for it to have the most impact as possible.
And you've had the best research, haven't you? Because you've been working with Women's Aid. How was that, Toby?
They've been absolutely invaluable, I have to say. I mean, you know, everybody thinks they know something about domestic abuse, but there's actually such a broad spectrum. And sort of Gray's character has, you know, revealed so much of that spectrum over the last 18 months, and Women's Aid have literally been there on hand, sort of keeping the character as human as possible. You know, there'd always be a reference point, a case study that they could show me, or more statistics, which, you know, it's just shocking, but it really has played a massive part in playing the character.
What have you learnt?
For me, I mean, as I say, it has been a massive education, and an education I think the whole of our society needs. It's, I think the biggest thing is there's not just one, you know, case of domestic abuse. There is a spectrum. There's so many indications that could lead to something as awful as we see in tonight's episode, The Gray and Chantel. And I think it's just talking, having the courage to speak out and get to safety if it's possible, and use the specialist services like Women's Aid and Refuge, and, you know, Respect UK as well. Sarah
Davidge from Women's Aid, it's a key time, isn't it, for this to come into the nation's conversation? Why is it so important? I mean, and women are suffering disproportionately at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. With the lockdown and the pandemic, COVID-19 that we've been seeing, we have seen domestic abuse that already exists heightened, escalated, because it's just given perpetrators another tool to use to control. And as Toby says, in the storyline in EastEnders, what we really concentrate on is how Gray is completely in control of that situation, that he's manipulating the narrative, he's manipulating what people see, what Chantel does, and COVID has just been another tool to enable perpetrators to put those restrictions on survivors.
And it's a very key storyline, isn't it? The point at which it kind of comes to this climax, because it's the most dangerous time for most women when they decide to make that move to leave. And you go into some detail on this. Tell us why that's such a dangerous time.
It's such a dangerous time because I think the perpetrator is starting to see that they're losing control along with that relationship status, and it can make these more dangerous. So we know that time when women are leaving is really risky. And what Women's Aid will do is work with women who are thinking of leaving around safety planning, and that safety planning will be really geared towards their own their personal circumstances, because we know that survivors are the experts in their own experience. So the episode that we saw last night where Chantal chose to leave with Gray, you could watch that and you could see just in Gray and Chantal staring at each other, the thought processes she was having, thinking it's my safest option is to go with him now rather than risk him being more angry later. So we really listen to survivors' experiences. And I think if this programme can encourage more survivors to reach out, to know that safety planning support is available at Women's Aid, then it's very much worth it. And then we can start to save lives.
And I guess you could argue then that why not show safety planning work? Would that, I know you advise a lot of dramas on this, but would that not have been, I know it's not as dramatic, but would that not have been more useful for people at prime time to see, highly dramatic situation nonetheless, but a character go, this is how you do it, or this is how you can leave safely?
I don't think it's about having dramatic effect. I think it's about the fact that tragically this is the reality. Not everybody survives.
Well, that's exactly my point. That to put the dramatic effect to one side and actually give people, through drama, proper information on how they can save their lives and that of their children. I
think absolutely that is what has happened with this, because what we've seen is the programme has really showed all the different aspects of domestic abuse, the subtle signs all the way through. And what it's going to do is really help people understand, because one of the problems that we have is people don't recognise what they're experiencing as domestic abuse and where that might lead. So I think this programme and the plots and the really sort of sensitive and realistic way that it's explored all those different aspects of domestic abuse, from physical, sexual, financial abuse to those real subtle controlling behaviours, and really raising awareness that coercive control is dangerous. It's not about, couples arguing or somebody nagging. It can lead to this, and I think it's so important that we know that this is what happens.
Toby, I know this has changed your life. You're now an ambassador for Women's Aid, and the reaction to the storyline has been pretty extreme, hasn't it?
It really has. My choice to become an ambassador really was, through speaking to sort of Women's Aid, Sarah and Teresa, and seeing the work that they were doing was really inspiring. And it's made me realise that, this is a massive issue with society. And I think more and more we need to start talking about it and start trying to make a difference, because we are nowhere near where we should be at the moment. And just seeing people's reaction to this storyline and how shocked they are that this is actually a mirror of what's happening in our society. It's quite unbelievable how unaware people are.
And signs we can all look out for to help one another. Thank you so much for joining us. Toby-Alexander Smith, who plays Gray in EastEnders, and Sarah Davidge, Research Manager for Women's Aid. That storyline coming to a climax tonight. And if you are listening and you need help or support information, this is the website you need, bbc.co.uk/action line, 8:45.